just a couple of minutes here between classes. Wanted to bring something up. I was just watching, or I guess listening to the news about a bunch of executive orders that Biden has signed. And I want to make very clear that as I complain about this executive order, I complained about it when Trump did it as well. So, all you idiot morons in there that talk about, oh, you didn't complain when Trump did it. Yeah, I absolutely did, because it's unconstitutional and it's unlawful. But one of the, and this is one of the things that directly affects a lot of people, me included. And I'll say this because, well, let's just get into what the issue is. So Biden is going to extend Trump's eviction moratorium through, I believe, April, or the beginning of April. So through March, and I think the 31st is when it's supposed to expire, because apparently that's when the Democrats and Biden will have miraculously solved all the problems in the country, and we no longer need to do a moratorium. But one of the executive orders that he signed, dang, I really need to get my brakes fixed. One of the executive orders he signed was an eviction moratorium, so that you can't evict tenants who have not paid their rent. And for one, this is wrong. And it's wrong on several levels, because the moratorium, well, first of all, let's get into the constitutional issue, and then we'll get into the moral implications of why this thing is wrong. Constitutionally, if you look at the Constitution, the government, and I know this, the Constitution specifically says no state shall make a law that interferes with the obligations of contracts, right? So if you have a pre-existing contract, then the government can't make a law that suddenly invalidates a contract, right? But they can make laws that prevent such contracts in the future. And so once you've entered into a lawful and binding contract, the government cannot create a law, or especially an executive order, that says that contract is null and void. And as every renter or landlord knows, there is a contract that, in exchange for allowing you to stay on and utilize and live at a property, you agree to pay a certain amount of money each month. Or this even includes mortgages, right? And if you don't, as the contract says, we have the right to evict you and to kick you off of our property, because one of the rights that we have, property rights, one of the sticks in that bundle of property rights is the right to exclude. And we have the right to exclude people who don't meet their contractual obligations and who are not paying their rent or are not paying their mortgage. That's just the way it is. Now, again, I'm not a rich man. I'm not a mogul. I'm not an investor necessarily. I own one piece of property, and that one piece of property is in Georgia. And we bought that when I got to Fort Stewart, Georgia, thinking we were going to be there a lot longer than we were. And then we ended up getting deployed to Iraq in 2002, to Kuwait in 2002, and then, of course, crossing the border when the war kicked off in 2003. And then when I got back, a lot of combat veterans, myself included, came down quickly on orders because they wanted to use that experience at the National Training Center at Fort Irwin, California. So I only spent 2 years with the 3rd Infantry Division before I became an observer controller and started up the Task Force IED at Fort Irwin, California, based on my experience. And so we only lived there 2 years, so we ended up renting out that property because, obviously we didn't have any equity in that house in just 2 years. And so we decided to rent it out. And it was probably one of the best things we ever did, but we also kept our rent low. Well, we've got renters right now that we're trying to evict because they haven't paid in like 2 months. Yet the government is trying to tell them, don't worry, you don't have to pay. You can't evict them for not paying, despite the fact that I have a contract that says I can evict them. So that's the legal and constitutional issue, is that Trump and Biden have both created an executive order that's unconstitutional and unlawful to begin with, because executive orders have nothing to do with me. Okay, I have a private contract with an individual, between individuals. I'm the government money in this property. I don't have any government loans in this property. I didn't buy this property from the government. I don't owe the government money because I bought this property from them. The government has absolutely no role in my property in Georgia. And therefore, the executive can't issue an executive order because I'm not part of the executive. He can issue an executive order all he wants. And maybe it'll apply to Federal Housing Act loans. Maybe it'll apply to VA loans. You know, I'm sure there are certain things, but here's the moral issue. The eviction moratorium applies only to the deadbeat not paying his bill. Oh, but CJ, they probably lost their job in the pandemic. Sorry, if you're not paying your bills, you're a deadbeat. There are ways to make money, okay? Just because someone's lazy and they lose their job and they want to live off the government, I guarantee you that as little as I charge for rent on that property, because really I just want to cover my mortgage. That's it. I pretty much cover my mortgage and then a little bit, very little each month that we set aside above that. And we're way below. Our management company tells us all the time, hey, you know, you could be making a couple $100 extra bucks a month. The average rental cost of this property is this. But I want to keep people in there for a long time. I don't want to keep having turnover after turnover. And so I keep it affordable, but yet make sure that I don't have deadbeat people. So now, according to this executive order, my renters don't have to pay their rent, and I can't kick them out for not paying their rent, but yet I still have to pay my mortgage. I still have to pay my mortgage to the company that owns the home. And yet somehow I'm supposed to be able to do that without that income. Again, I'm not a rich person. I rely on that rent to pay the mortgage. That's the only way I can essentially pay the mortgage. And there are millions of people across the country that are in the exact same position. So now what the government is doing is it's taking one person who's having issues, and that's the renter or the mortgagee. It's taking one person that's got issues and creating more people that have issues, because now instead of just one person not paying the rent, well, now you're going to have another person who can't make their mortgage. Why? Because the government has made it to where I can't kick that person out and get someone in that can pay rent. Okay? And look, here's the deal. If you can't afford my rent, then I'm sorry. What you got to do is you get kicked out and you go find yourself a small place that, yes, it might be cramped. It might not be ideal, but it's not my problem. Okay? It's not my problem. It's the government's problem. The government's the one that fucked this up. So, this is unconstitutional. I've contacted my management company. I've got the eviction stuff here notarized. I'm getting ready to scan it off to them, and I'm going to get them to immediately file this eviction before Biden has a chance to sign any executive orders. Therefore, but if he even if he does sign it, I'm just going to sue, because the federal government has no right to tell people they can't evict a deadbeat renter or a deadbeat mortgagee. So, anyway, that's the deal. And it's flat out unconstitutional, because the Constitution flat out says that no one can make laws that interfere with the obligations of a contract. That means contracts that are already in existence, lawful contracts that are already existing. And the 14th Amendment, even though that particular language says the state, no state shall, the 14th Amendment incorporates this to the federal government. So that's it. Now, this isn't a house in Texas. It's a house in Georgia. As I said, I bought this house back in 2001, or 2002, excuse me. I bought this house in 2002. It's a small house, 3-bedroom, really tiny. I got it for like $69,000, which is why I can keep my rent so low. Because I've paid almost as much for a car. No, not really. So anyway, I just want to let you guys know, if you're in this situation where these Trump-Biden executive orders are affecting your ability to manage your property, if you can, file a lawsuit. Maybe what we need to do is do a class action lawsuit against the federal government. And I think we should probably also use the Democrat playbook and file articles of impeachment against Biden for violating the Constitution. All right. Let me see what's up here real quick, then I'm going to get off. Yes, they freely entered into a contract, absolutely, and the government can't violate that contract. No, I don't expect them to actually know the Constitution. Absolutely not. But we have to fight it, or else they can't be held accountable. It is the beginning of the end, Boomer. My girlfriend deals with rentals every day. It's all bad. No homeowner can evict right now. That's the problem. That's the problem. There's ways of working. We can't find help where we're at. And see, here's the thing. I have also told my management company, look, I understand times are hard, okay? So don't charge late fees. I don't want late fees, but because it's just going to make a bad problem worse. Just tell them to pay the damn rent. That's all I want. Just pay the damn rent. I've already got my rent below the market value for that house. I'm not going to lower it anymore, because then I can't even pay. I literally charge slightly more than I make on my rent, or that I pay on my mortgage. And the only reason I do that is because, for example, I have to replace things and fix things. I've replaced the roof. I've replaced the entire AC heating system. I've replaced the floors. I've replaced carpets, and I've replaced all the appliances, including the oven, the garbage disposal, the dishwasher, and the fridge. All brand new stuff. Okay, I have to pay for that somehow. That's why I charge a little bit more rent than I have to pay in mortgage, so I can set that money aside, and when I need to do something to the house, I've got that money already. I don't have to go into debt, because I'm not a millionaire. I'm not even a 100 millionaire. I'm not even a 10,000-aire. I don't have a lot of money. Okay, my bank account is lucky if it ever gets to, much less goes above, the 4 digits. I'm a freaking law student. My girlfriend works for a management company with property in Georgia, Texas, and 20 other states. Owners are pissed like you. Absolutely, and I'm ready to sue. And it's Holtzman. Holtzman Realtors is who I use in Georgia. Exactly. Where's the contract between me and my county tax collector? So anyway, yeah, no evictions in Georgia. Well, guess what? I'm still suing. And that's why I've got this paper right here. This paper is in the Magistrate Court of Liberty County, state of Georgia, a dispossessory mortgage affidavit. And this is basically saying I am kicking these people out because they have failed to meet their contractual obligations. Under the contract of the rental agreement, I have a right, for one, a contractual right, to kick them off my property for not meeting the contract, for violating the contract. 2, I have a property right to exclude anyone from my property that I don't have a contractual obligation to allow. And I have a contractual obligation to allow them onto my property, provided they're paying their rent in a timely fashion. And I've already been clear about, when they got behind last time, like, okay, don't charge any late fees. Just I'll eat the late fees. Just tell them to pay the rent. That's all I want. That way I can pay my mortgage. And guess what? When I'm late on my mortgage, they don't say, oh, I know times are tough. Don't worry about the late fee. They don't do that to me. So these things aren't applying to everyone else in society. They're only applying to the deadbeats out there. And I know that's a harsh term for people who have lost their job, a lot of whom have lost their job because of government interference with the workplace, shutting down businesses and stuff like that. But I'm sorry. Go get another job. And if you can't get another job, make a job. Okay, go out there on the street and sell water bottles. There's a guy in Temple, an educator. He's a teacher. During the summer, he will sit out at a major intersection and he'll buy a whole bunch of bottles of water. He probably pays like $3 for the 24-pack of water, and he sells them for $1 a piece. And he does that over the summer. The dude makes a killing just selling bottles of water. So there are ways to make money. You just got to not be a lazy-ass slob. And by the way, if you're unemployed now, you're getting an extra, $300 a week in unemployment? There's absolutely no reason you can't pay your rent. I guarantee you're paying your cable, and you're paying your phone bill, and you're paying all that kind of crap. Those aren't necessary. A home is necessary. All right, I'm done with that. I'm going to go file this paper in court. You guys take care, be safe, be free.